What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today I am back with a 2024 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to stick around, like, comment, subscribe. We're getting right back into the groove of things. If you guys want to check out what's been going on, feel free to check out the community posts. You guys show me insane support. I love you guys for that, and I want to get back to you. I've been grinding my ass off every single night watching players. I know I want to do a bunch of tape studies with you guys, and that will happen very soon. So join the Discord if you haven't already. There's 700 members in there. So feel free to hop in. It's absolutely free. And when I do tape studies, it's going to be free for you guys there. Have some other stuff going on in the works. So be first there to be able to know about it. And this is going to be a pretty much updated board. Almost everything is complete. And we're getting there. We're really getting there. There's a lot of players who I have very unique opinions on. I have a show with Broshmo called Draft Bros, so feel free to check that out as well. I continue tagging it in my Twitter. Links are in the description, or you can just look up Draft Bros because you get to see these battles and stuff that are really, really fun. You get to see a bunch of different names that maybe I won't even mention in my top 10, but we have videos out on that. So feel free to check that channel out, but also show some love to the videos I put out over here. Let's get right into the mock draft. Let's have some fun. So starting out with the #1 overall pick, I have the Los Angeles Rams. This is based off of the series that I ended up making. You know, I had 32 different videos based on these teams. I know a lot of y'all who, I got to just address this right now. Teams are going to lose if other teams are going to win. It's the worst part about it is having those videos where I don't get to hype up a roster. And I did adjust a couple things because, Brock Purdy is back, which doesn't seem to be medically normal, but power to him. And so that's why you'll see maybe a team like the Niners that ended up getting 7 and 10, because I thought Trey Lance was going to play for most of the season, ended up getting into the playoffs. So this is fully updated. Feel free to criticize it as much as you want. I know a lot of people are going to be pissed about it, but personally, I am not a huge fan of the Los Angeles Rams, even though I'm, born, raised LA. I live in Dallas now, so, I can at least not, resemble myself or relate to the Rams, but I just don't think the Rams are a very good roster. I think they're aging. I think that their stars are coming off injury, and they're losing a lot of key pieces. That defense is absolute butt cheeks. So we're here. And if you're at this spot, I think it's a perfect time for a lot of guys who are probably going to be retiring. You know what? You run to the podium, you get Caleb Williams. And I think that's a pretty good consolation prize if it ends up becoming as poor of a season as I think it will be. Pick #2, Arizona. Obviously, Kyler Murray, might not be back for a significant portion of the season. We'll see when he comes back. Obviously, he's a very mobile quarterback, smaller, injury prone. You want to take it a little bit easier with him. And I don't think that's going to be a big deal because you're getting Marvin Harrison Jr. here, who is arguably the best receiver that has come out of college in a long time. Some people say Randy Moss level. We'll see what happens. I'm saving Marvin Harrison Jr. as my last evaluation. I've already seen him plenty of times destroy all the DBs I love. I already know what he is going to do. But before I go into the all-22 on him, I gotta enjoy a little bit of the other players first. I can't spoil the fun like that because, once it's like going to Nashville and having fried chicken and then coming back and having some really good KFC. It just is not going to be the same, even though KFC can hit, Popeyes can hit. Nothing can hit just like true Nashville hot chicken. So, that's going to be the way I treat a lot of these players. It's why I waited to grade Caleb Williams the last. You just got to save some of the fun, and it makes the job a lot easier because you have something really to look forward to. At pick #3, do I have Drake May not as my QB #2? Yes. Am I going to blend my board with realism? Yes. Do I think Drake May will be the second quarterback off the board? Yes. But I will make some counterpoints here. I'm going to take Drake May anyways. I think if the Buccaneers are sitting here at 3, they're going to actually go after Drake May. One, he's also used to the South, so I think he's going to be comfortable with that new climate. But Drake May, he is a little too inconsistent for me, and too inconsistent with his ball placement, too inconsistent with his decision making, and it was his first year starting. Things can totally change, but I can only be completely honest with you guys about what I have seen. And I project, of course, but when I do my evaluations, I'm going to tell you what I've seen because evaluations are, a figment of our tongue twister, figment of our imagination. And Drake May isn't as good of a quarterback as a lot of people say. A lot of people are saying they could be better than Caleb Williams. Not even remotely close. Kid has the tools, and if you guys have watched me long enough, for damn, I hate the term tools. I hate it because you got to put the tools together. If you can't put it together in college, it's not going to be the easiest thing when you have the responsibility of a top 5 pick to put it together in the NFL. Is that impossible? No, but it's just far more unlikely. So I'm not going to put like my neck out for a guy where he needs to go to one system. And if he goes that system, he's going to do great. If he doesn't, you're screwed. So I think Drake May is not that far gone. But when people are talking about him as potentially better than Caleb Williams, they mentioned the tools. The gameplay itself is not nearly as good as Caleb Williams. So got to just be completely honest there. I still really like Drake May. He's my number 22 player in the class. Still a very good player. Just for me, toning down the expectations a little bit. I think he could totally surge up my board. And I'm always willing to be wrong. I'm more than happy if Drake May becomes just as good as Caleb Williams. Who the hell doesn't want that to happen? So, that's something y'all, if you are new, will get to know about me. I just don't really care about being wrong. I'm always just going to be completely honest with you guys. Pick number 4. So the Raiders, if they're sitting at this spot, that's a really tough position to be in. I just don't trust the health of Jimmy G. It's one of the few things. It's one of the few teams where I actually factored in injury when I was doing their full evaluation. So grateful they got Marcus Peters. Hallelujah. They got Marcus Peters. But I think if they're sitting at this spot, I am going to stick my neck out for a quarterback that I think is going to have a major career resurgence. And he was awful there at Michigan. Atrocious. Not good. He was booty cheeks. You just look at the stats themselves. They'll prove it. But do they not even have my... You got to be kidding me. PFF, dude. The fact that I pay for this crap and then they don't even have the player. It's going to be Joe Milton out of Tennessee. Ridiculous that they have Jordan Travis, no disrespect to him, or Spencer Rattler above my number 2 quarterback in the class. Joe Milton can throw, well, he's been quoted as saying his max throw distance is over 90 yards. He's thrown a 75-yard pass in a game versus Clemson that hit the receiver in the hands. It's not like, oh, he threw it into air and then it hit the ground. No, this was an actual on-target ball. So he has unbelievable potential. He is pretty much Anthony Richardson, but older, worse athlete, but better thrower of the football. And for me, especially if I'm sitting there, I'm the Raiders, they're going to want somebody new in the building. I'm going to do that all day. I think the weapons are fine. I think the O-line is progressing enough, not necessarily to the degree that I would be extremely enthusiastic, but number 4, I think I'm going to be willing to take a quarterback here. So, I'm just going to take a name that I'm not going to take in the next round. And for the people who love Michael Penix, you're going to love this, but I don't like Michael Penix that much. I just actually watched Rome Odunze and finally graded him. This is going to not be Michael Penix. For the people who are not watching, I know who you are now. It is not Michael Penix. It is going to be Joe Milton out of Tennessee. Pick number 5. I can already hear the people saying there's no way you took Michael Penix in the top 5. I already hear it. But and pick number 5 for Green Bay. There's a couple options you could go. You could end up going after an edge rusher here. Zadarius Smith no longer in the building. You could just end up adding more. Oh, that's a total bullshit claim. You guys drafted one in the first round last year. So I guess I was on the same page as you, just a year behind or a year ahead. So I think tackle is going to be the obvious choice if you are stuck at this spot. There's going to be no trades in this. You could go after a receiver at this point. Emeka Egbuka is a beast. I think that you could complement Christian Watson very well. But you've invested a lot of capital in receivers recently. I don't know if you're going to want to continue doing that, especially when Bakhtiari is getting older. I just think that you could try to train up Olu Fashanu. You have taken Rasheed Walker before and continue training him up. I'm going to go after Joe Alt, who is my tackle number 1. You could end up looking at a right tackle, but I think Joe Alt, he's just too good to pass on, just super consistent, very confident with his game. But I think his big issue comes to the fact that he's not overly powerful, but that might just be because he doesn't feel the need to overexert himself because he's very confident in his ability. Excellent tackle. I got to give him props where props are due. Pick number 6 for Washington. This could end up being a QB as well. I'm going to opt out of that decision. I think you just continue developing Sam Howell. There's going to be a new name for the team. Hopefully it's the Washington Red Tails because I think that's awesome. It's a way to, still have a name that's remotely close to the Redskins, be able to still actually honor a group of people there in the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II. Feel free to look that up. If you guys don't know what the Red Tails are, great movie, by the way. But I think if they're in this position, they are definitely going to be looking at an edge rusher or they're going to be looking at an offensive weapon. I think the edge rushers in this class are actually extremely underwhelming apart from the guys at the top. And I think the top, I have 3 guys right here. You guys can see them. They are all blue chip grade. And there is a significant drop off to the next guy. I know a lot of people are going to be mad that I do not like JT Tuimoloau. Spoiler alert. But, it is what it is. I think that there's other guys who are very similar build who have a much better resume to them. And I think that it's worth taking an edge rusher at this point. Chase Young's probably going to be gone. Montez Sweat hasn't, I believe, signed a new deal either. So you're definitely going to be down an edge rusher regardless. My big issue with your team was the depth on defense. I could not find 5 guys I was genuinely passionate about that I could put in the notable backups category. So it's up to you where you want to go. I think Jared Verse is awesome. I have Dallas Turner as my edge number 1, and I love Dallas Turner with all my heart. But I think someone who fits that Montez Sweat build, and I love Jared Verse. I feel like he's going to be the guy that teams opt for above Dallas Turner because of the size difference. Jared Verse is going to be probably close to 10 pounds heavier. And I love the fact that even when he was injured, coming off that nasty ankle injury last year, he still played at a super high level. And you could see that he was trying so hard to be as good as he was. And he still was honestly worth a 2nd-round pick if he never recovered from that ankle injury. Very good player. I think that he's truly special and will probably end up being edge 1 in the class, especially if he remains healthy. Florida State's a nasty squad this year. Pick number 7 via Houston to Arizona. Yes, I believe in Houston far more than apparently everybody else does, except for the fans. Arizona sitting here. You could end up looking at offensive line here. I think that I wish that I could just import my own draft board into this, but we'll see what happens in the future. Marius Mims, I think, will be in this consideration. You could end up taking him to be the Kelvin Beachum replacement. We'll see what happens there. But, you never know. Paris Johnson might end up moving there if you want to keep DJ Humphries. So you could end up going after offensive line, you already went after a receiver. So you could end up probably trying to go after even more edge rushing presence, could go after a corner. And I think that's where I'm going to lean. You guys still don't have a top tier corner. I love the fact you have Garrett Williams, but I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is just a badass. And I think that he's going to lend a hand in making this team back to what it was. Your own coach had 2 top tier defensive backs when he just went to the Super Bowl, right? So if Gannon could do it with that, I think that he could raise up Kool-Aid McKinstry to be one of those high level players. He's been able to have them in the repertoire. I think he's going to continue to do so with Kool-Aid McKinstry and Garrett Williams. Pick number 8 for New England could definitely be the one spot that bites me in the ass because Bill Belichick, like Mike Tomlin, finds a way. God only knows how Brock Bowers is still here, but it's not anymore. I think Olu would be a great choice as well, but Brock Bowers is just somebody who's super unique, and I feel like you could find a toolsy, athletic, young offensive tackle down the board a lot better than you could find a Brock Bowers down the board. I think Brock Bowers is just one of those guys who's it's a pain for me to see him slip out of the top 5. But based on how this fell, teams need either a quarterback or you guys know what's up. So positional value without trades made Brock Bowers slip a little bit. The Bears, I wouldn't doubt taking Olu at this point. I think that's the best move. Emeka Egbuka would probably be the best return on investment. Dallas Turner as well. But when you're looking at the left tackles of this class, you might just want to hit on somebody who's super athletic. And I like Braxton Jones, but I don't know if Braxton Jones is necessarily going to be the longer term answer. I think he's a great guy to sub in. Dallas Turner's a good pick, though. I just talked about how there's 3 dudes at the top, and a Dallas Turner, I feel like you could end up getting some Khalil Mack-esque out of him. I have him comped as Kayvon Thibodeau, and his tape really does lend as a kind of a Kayvon Thibodeau with better zone coverage ability. So I'm going to go actually after Dallas Turner here. I fell in love with him. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar in the NFL. At pick number 10, I think Emeka Egbuka makes total sense here. You're looking for a big X build receiver or somebody that can at least be a formidable threat. You have a lot of really good route runners, speed guys. I want someone who has a little bit more oomph, a little bit more sizzle to their steak. And that's exactly what Emeka Egbuka brings to the table. I think that if you guys are willing or like really going to want to take a push with Daniel Jones, you need to give him a reliable target that can be there every single snap and can probably take 10 catches a game. I want someone who has a bigger frame for that and someone who I could rely on consistently. Great hands, great in the open field ability. I think Emeka is obviously a tier below Marvin Harrison, but he's definitely going to be one of those guys that you fall in love with. Olu Fashanu is falling, but this is a pretty deep left tackle class, so there is a chance of that when teams don't need left tackles. But at pick number 11, I mean, this team could use a boundary corner number 1. They could use a wide receiver number 1. Emeka Egbuka would have been an excellent selection. I think that A.D. Mitchell, who I haven't fully graded yet, but from all the tape that I've seen, especially versus other DBs in the class, just like I've been talking about with Marvin Harrison Jr. here, I think he could be worth this range, but I'd much rather bank on a corner at this point. And Kalen King's awesome. His field awareness is off the charts. I've crapped on Kalen King because of the fact that I'm watching Joey Porter Jr., who you guys know my affiliate or my unbelievable love for Joey Porter Jr. Kalen King comes close, and you just get to see someone who's here versus here, and then whenever you recognize Kalen King, it's always when Marvin Harrison Jr. eats him alive. So I'll take it on the chin. I reacted way too early to Kalen King, and I think that he's going to be a superstar. I think this team does need a true boundary one, and this is an excellent time for them to grab one. I think even if they end up down here 17, 18, 19, or 20, they still could potentially have a chance at Kalen King. But even if they don't, getting a defensive back is going to be exactly what you need. Pick number 12 for the Colts. This is Olu Fashanu. I'm not even going to think about it. Getting a true left tackle. And at that deal, it is incredible. I am not as high on Olu Fashanu as most. Again, he's number 17 on my board. I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you guys get to see a little bit more. He's number 17 on my board, but he's still my left tackle number 2. There's nobody who comes close to his ability. Graham Barton, he's an offensive lineman. He's not even a left tackle, so I can't even go that crazy about him. So Olu Fashanu, he is by far the left tackle number 2 in the class. So pick number 13, Saints. You guys did fall off a little bit because I swapped that game with New England. It's unfortunate, but that's just is what happened. You guys ended up being 9-8 and just missing the playoffs because 2 teams in your division had a better record. I still think you guys could end up winning your division. I'm just really high on the Panthers and very high on, I can't say very high because Falcons fans go crazy, but I feel like Falcons are a very formidable team. So you guys are on that fringe. You could be at 13, you could be at 20. It's pretty much a 1-game difference. It's a very tight race there in the NFC South, but with you guys sitting here at number 13, I think Jeremiah Trotter would be a great choice. I think that might be the best position for you guys to go target. You could go after a QB here. Looking at my next best available, you got Braylon Trice here. I don't know if you go after the edge rusher. You just got Isaiah Foskey. Don't think that's the right move. But then you got Jerzon Newton here. Just went after interior defensive lineman, first round. I don't think you're going after O-line. And then, next guy is Jeremiah Trotter. I don't think that's a bad choice at all. I think you lost, I think his name's Caden Ellis to, speaking of the Falcons, and he actually was a pretty big role player. I think there could be definitely some room for someone like Jeremiah Trotter to step in. He is on the smaller side in terms of height. He's 6 foot, but I think his talent overall certainly leans towards somebody who's excellent. I actually might end up going Tommy Eichenberg here, though. I think he's more consistent, and you guys have gone to Ohio State, done pretty well with Pete Werner. So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. You guys are going back to Ohio State, Tommy Eichenberg. He's my number two light linebacker. I want to say tight end so badly. Number 2 linebacker in the class. But, he is, I believe, the brother of Liam Eichenberg. He's just a lot better than Liam Eichenberg. Pick number 14. So via Cleveland, we have Houston's pick here. And Houston, I think Jerzon Newton would be a baller in this system. Thinking back to what they did in this past draft, they gave up a lot of capital to be able to grab Will Anderson as well as CJ Stroud. Tackle-wise, they just secured pretty much both sides of their offensive line in the offseason. That's good. I think they could boost the interior, but this class doesn't provide that type of value, nor is it worth it at 14. Running back, no. Wide receiver certainly is on the table, though. I think it wouldn't be a bad thing at all to go after a wide receiver one. You guys have a lot of really good role players, but I don't know if there's an X receiver in there. A.D. Mitchell's the guy who I'm starting to lean to in this situation. But I'm looking at guys like Jerzon Newton. I get very excited. I love Jerzon Newton. He was my guy not too long ago. Where did I put Jerzon? He's at number 10 on my board. So y'all know I've been a big Jerzon Newton fan for a while. I think that he would bring a lot of upside in terms of pass rushing ability. He's a great hand fighter. He's a little bit on the lighter side, but I think that D'Amico Ryans can make the most out of him. So I'm going to send him to the place where he belongs. Pick number 15. So Tennessee, offensive tackle certainly is in the mix. You do have, we're going to see if Peter Skoronski can handle being right tackle. But, you could certainly end up going after someone like J.C. Latham, who I think will end up being at this range. I'm not a huge fan of him myself. I love Taliese Fuaga. He's my tackle number 2 in the class. I don't think he's going to be going anywhere near this range when all is said and done, but, got to show some love for a player I'm very passionate about. I think positions this team could look at. Quarterback's obviously not on the table. Running back, I don't think is on the table. Still could look at offensive line. Again, just brought up J.C. Latham. But, wide receiver, don't think so. Tight end, no. So offense is pretty well booked. When you look at the defense, I wouldn't be against going Jeremiah Trotter here. It's a tough spot because I just personally don't really there's not huge holes in terms of the roster. I think the quarterback situation is what a lot of people are concerned about, including myself, which is why I've tampered my expectations. But when you look at the rest of the roster, you could look at some DBs there for sure. This is a great safety class. Kevin Byard's already expressed how he's kind of pissed that they wanted to get him on a cheaper contract. Would not be a bad idea to end up trying to go after a defensive back at this point. This is probably one of those spots where I do have a little bit of an issue. I could go after an edge rusher. No one's ever going to complain about going after an edge rusher at this point. You guys got Arden Key, though. Don't think you need to get a new edge rusher, but you didn't pay him like he's a guaranteed edge rusher. So I'm actually going to get a guy who has the exact same size as someone you did pay a lot of money who ended up not working out in Bud Dupree. I'm going to go after Braylon Trice here. I'm going to give you guys my number 6 player in the draft. I think that he's spectacular. I think that regardless of the competition there, he's going to rise to the top. 6'4", 270 pounds. He's an incredible athlete, and he's somebody who had, I believe, the highest pressure rate per snap in college last year. And this is against very high-end tackles. I wanted to make sure I watched one of his worst games, and that was actually versus Texas. And he still looked like a top 5 player in this class. I could have watched the, I think it was Wazoo that they played against. He had 18 pressures in that game. Come on. You can't do that if you're a bum. You can't. There's very few guys who can rack up that amount of pressures and, not at least have some warranted talent. And this guy has the athleticism too. Pick number 16 for the Broncos. Still tempted. Jeremiah Trotter should not be on the board. I love Jeremiah Trotter. I'll scroll down until we get to a player who I do not have taken. And Amarius Mims might be a great choice here. I wish that they didn't end up taking on Mike McGlinchey. But when it comes to the left tackle situation, there are rumors that we are going to see Amarius Mims move left. And I think he can. This is a team that could end up trying to play the long game here. And that'd be a great selection. Looking at other players, though, you could end up pairing Cooper DeJean with his buddy there and Riley Moss. Not going to do that. I don't like Cooper DeJean that much. I think as a safety, he could totally be worth it, but I'm not going to stick my neck out there for him. If you're here at 16, I think you could end up going after the QB and developing one. And I think that when you look at someone like Russell Wilson, they'll understand at that point. He has a big ego, but I feel like he would be a pretty good mentor to a quarterback here. Quinn Ewers and Bo Nix are definitely the guys who I have next in line. I think they're both phenomenal. I think Bo Nix he's a great leader who has a great resiliency. I think Quinn Ewers has more potential. And with a guy like Russell Wilson, who has a beautiful rainbow deep ball, I think that that would be the best mentor for Quinn Ewers to help his deep ball accuracy, because that was the big reason why he ended up not being my QB3, is because of the fact that his deep ball is really inaccurate. So I'm going to go Quinn Ewers here. I am. I think I did that with my first mock draft as well, so it's pretty interesting to see it all come back around. Steelers sitting here at 17. I promise I didn't force this to happen, but it did cross my mind. I think Quinn Ewers definitely would be the realistic option here. I'm going to go Amarius Mims. We're going to pair him up. Right tackle is not great in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Chakuma Okorafor. And then you get to pair him back up with Braxton Jones. They balled the F out in that game versus Ohio State. And I think that's great to bring him back together. Amarius Mims is a stud. And now I get to scroll down even further to show you guys even more of the board. This is going to be Jeremiah Trotter. I don't care. I mean, it's just you have to take him at one point, and this is a great spot to take him. Steelers would have been a great spot as well, not going to lie, but I feel like just continue to invest in the offense is more realistic for what the Steelers would do. Pick number 19. So, needs are a quarterback. Interesting. I think that could be the move here with someone like Bo Nix. It's a lower investment, but looking at other positions, I think the line is fine. I think receiving-wise, they're fine. Running back, obviously, they're set for life. Interior offensive line looks good, too. You look at the defense, they could be looking at a corner number 2. And I think that's the right thing to do, is to go after that corner number 2. Denzel Burke, when healthy, is a god. He is my corner number 3, and I want to make sure he's there. Really good player. Really good player, nonetheless. When he's healthy, he's going to be probably a top 3 corner for most people. But the thing is, he had a fall off from his freshman year, but he ended up getting better and better as the year progressed. So got to show him some love here. Denzel Burke to come in and replace Jeff Okudah, the other Ohio State corner. Jeff Okudah could eventually take that corner 2 spot, but I think Denzel Burke has a much higher chance of doing it. Pick number 20 for San Francisco. I know I got torn apart for that video, and look at me putting you guys back in the playoffs. Whoop-de-doo. I think that going offensive line certainly could be the right move. J.C. Latham has a ton of potential, and I think that's the best move for you guys. When you have Trent Williams there, I don't think J.C. Latham is a bad player whatsoever. I think he's going to go in the first round because he's a really solid athlete, and he just boosted 335. His power, a little bit worrisome, but I think his motor is the big one that pisses me off. He gives up on plays really early, but I don't think you're going to let that pass there with Trent Williams being your mentor. So J.C. Latham out of Alabama going to the Niners. Pick number 21. So fun fact that these guys are not going to be taken in this. Not a fan, nor is Chop. But pick number 21, I think defensive back still is the way to go. They're switching to a more man-heavy scheme, which is great for guys like Mekhi Blackman. But I do think that when you can get someone like Jason Marshall in there, who's going to be kind of like that field marshal for you, it's going to be a good investment. You have Andrew Booth, and I think that you just need more than 2 corners on this team that are legitimately top tier. I still think that they should have went, just personally, really think they should have went after a corner last year instead of Jordan Addison. I love Jordan Addison, but they went eventually in the 3rd round. But I actually might end up going Jason Marshall here. I feel like that's going to be what really puts you guys over the edge. Running back is something you can get down the board. I don't think that this class is going to lend itself to pushing running backs up the board. Pick number 22. So the Jets give their pick back to the Green Bay Packers, which makes sense. They got Joe Alt earlier. At this point, I think you could even double up on offensive line, but I'm not going to. I think, have I gone A.D. Mitchell yet? I have not. And I think A.D. Mitchell would be a great pairing with Christian Watson there, as well as Jaden Reed. I mean, it's pretty much, that was the guy who I was trying to debate here at pick 10. Just saying. You guys got to steal. I love A.D. Mitchell. Could have been a guy even here for the Vikings. Pick number 23. So Chargers still making a really good push. I think you could look at a right tackle here in Kingsley Suamataia. I think he could end up rising up the boards very much because of the fact that he ended up losing 15 pounds. He looks a lot thinner in the face too. You look at his ESPN picture now versus the picture I got when he first got to BYU. Kid's in shape. Got to give him respect where respect is due. I think he might end up still being interior, but he looks like he's going to end up being a really solid tackle. Very excited to see if he can maintain the nastiness, the ferocity that he had before. I think he'd be a great selection here for the Niners. Other positions of note, you could go an edge rusher here for sure. I'm not a fan of the edge rushers who are left. Could go a safety / corner hybrid here in Cooper DeJean. I don't think that's a bad choice. I think he's just a little stiff. Will probably end up falling down the board in my opinion. But I think that the best choice here probably would be to go after, going offensive line. I really do. I think that right tackle spot, it's finally time to get someone who could fill it the right way. I'm going to go Kingsley Suamataia here. Could go tight end as well, but this year's tight end class, I haven't fully studied it yet, but I'm not over the moon about it, but I'm also not saying it's crap by any stretch of the imagination. I think when you have a really good O-line class after a couple of pretty mediocre ones, it's best to invest in the offensive line. Pick number 24 for the Bengals. If you guys want to go after somebody who could be a safety for you, Cooper DeJean could be a nasty strong. Obviously, losing Von Bell doesn't make it too easy, and you could end up even using him as a corner. I wouldn't be against that. I know you guys got DJ Turner last year in, I believe, the second round. Quite surprising, but you got some speed there. He'd be a really cool addition. He's a really big ball hawk too. I'm leaning towards potentially taking that. You signed a 1-year extension today on Trey Hendrickson. Could still look at offensive line here for sure. Taliesin Fuaga might be the guy who I want to throw his name in. Graham Barton could be that dude who you take as a flex tackle / guard. And actually, that might be the best move. He ended up going to Duke as a center, and he ended up being a left tackle. I think his arms might be a little too short for it, but he is an unbelievable athlete, so you can definitely make up for it. Could end up being a center or a guard for you, but he also could end up being a tackle. I think going offensive line is probably the best thing you can do at this point. You guys got Myles Murphy last year as well. Don't really need to worry about edge rusher there. I'm going to go Graham Barton out of Duke. Pick number 25. I am a big believer in the Carolina Panthers. So they made a pretty good push into the playoffs. At this spot, we ended up going Dallas Turner before. Wide receiver wise, Xavier Worthy wouldn't be a horrible decision. I'm actually really not liking this receiver class nearly as much as I wanted to, but there is one guy who I really like who's not even listed on here. And he is actually from Florida State as well now. He's formerly Michigan State. That's Keon Coleman. Again, really annoying how you have someone like Anais Smith on here, no disrespect to him, but not a stud who's 6'4", 215 pounds, who, again, just studied today. So, I might take Johnny Wilson if a team needs a big slot in the first. Probably not going to, but there's still the chance of it. So out of respect, I trashed Anais Smith. It's going to be Keon Coleman out of Florida State. Again, super annoying the fact that we pay for this, but we can't even get a full roster. But whoop-de-doo. Pick number 26. So looking at Cooper DeJean here, safety is a position that's going to be a huge need. And I'm not going to let that pass anymore. He's over 210 pounds. I think he's maybe 207. But, he's a big dude, has a huge hit stick. He is a corner, but he's a great ball hawk, great returner. I think this guy could be a major asset there for Buffalo. Pick number 27, the Dallas Cowboys. Big fan of Dallas. I think they're a good team, man. They'll eventually put it all together, and this year might be the one. With Brandon Cooks on the roster, I don't think that's a bad choice at all. Still got guys like Bo Nix on the board too, who I'm a big fan of. But at this moment, what the Cowboys need, they could go after a high-end edge rusher. There's just not one in this class. ZTF really took a step back over time. I was a big fan of him. But looking at other guys, Corey Foreman's a fun dude down the board. I think this could be a really cool dude to back up Sam Williams there, because Sam could end up being, that dude. I do not like JT Tuimoloau. I don't. If you watch every game except for Penn State, you understand what this guy is. And I hope he ends up becoming more consistent like Penn State. But sometimes guys have fluke games. They really do. I talked about 18 pressures with another dude, but he didn't even get a ton of pressures that game. He just was very, very disruptive, which is great for him. But, I'm just personally not thinking he's going to take that huge step up. And the guys who we draft now, the guys who are listed here, look back on the past draft. They're not going to all be there either. So I think that it's perfectly fine to believe that not necessarily going to fully invest my name into what the draft board is now. I'm going to invest into my draft board, but not that one. So I think running back could be a good option here. I think Blake Corum, regardless of the other running back you have, this could be the dude who's worth taking in the first round. So out of respect for him, we're going to take him here. He's a really good compliment back to Tony Pollard, Deuce Vaughn. They're both kind of small, but this dude is a freight train. I love the momentum he brings to the table. You know, you can see the defender feel the contact when he hits him. So got to love some Blake Corum here. Also going back to Michigan. It would have been insane if they could have gotten Nolan Smith last year, but they didn't. Could have gotten a tight end there as well, but I think Blake Corum would just provide a little bit more value. Pick number 28 for Baltimore. This is, again, a team that doesn't need anything. So it's kind of tough to say what they should get. You know, I love Xavier Worthy. It's a good player. You know, you got Zay Flowers. it doesn't really make sense to go after him at this point. Defensive interior might be the way I rock. I just don't know. This team doesn't need much. It's honestly a team where I'd probably try to trade out of this spot if I could, but I said no trades. I'm going to honor that. Looking at the defensive interiors, who's that defensive interior I have? Tyler Davis. I think that's a good move. I was tempted to take him earlier anyways. You could look at a corner two, actually. Speaking of, I forgot they didn't take an actual boundary two. Yes. Yes. Kamari Lassiter, unbelievable athlete, man. He is fun to watch. He's just super duper raw, but I even talked about it in my corner video I posted. That's, I believe, my last video up as well, so check that out, where you can get an in-depth breakdown of him. But super duper fast as an athlete, probably the best one as a corner in the class. But he also just needs refinement on his work. Marlon Humphrey, I brought up as an amazing mentor. I think that would be an A1 move. Pick number 29. Hopefully, Devon Witherspoon ends up signing his contract. But in this situation, you could end up going after a safety. God, there's so many good players in this class. You couldn't even go Bo Nix. Just say, hey, might as well get cheaper, see what happens. But I think defensive interiors where you really need to continue developing. So I know that I'm forgetting it. Monet, whatever. He's pretty solid, but I'm going to go after Tyler Davis here because I think that he could bring a little extra sizzle to the table as well, continuing to boost that defensive interior. I don't think you guys are going to disagree. Pick number 30. Looking at the next guy who I have available on the board, it is Bo Nix, but after Bo, it's Kalen Bullock. Bo Nix would be a great choice here for the Jaguars. Just kidding. I love Trevor Lawrence. You could just continue stacking it up with Xavier Worthy. I mean, hell, why not? Like, I really don't know why not. You could go Kalen Bullock here, though, and make your defensive secondary even more baller. You go Cameron Kinchens as well, who's also baller. There's just some really good players you guys can add. It really depends if Josh Allen wants to stay. But if he does, which I assume you will, if you're right, because I'm a big believer in the Jags, you're probably going to be focused on receiver or maybe defensive back. And Cameron Kinchens could be the guy who you really like. He's in Florida as well. I'm going to show a little bit of love there. Cameron Kinchens out of the U. Got to show some love there. Pick number 31. So, oh man, Xavier Worthy's still on the board. You got to be kidding me, dude. Like, I love Xavier Worthy. The fact he's here just disgusts me. I might just take him here for the Chiefs anyway. I mean, to be fair, I'm thinking of the receiving core. I'm not seeing anybody that's really better than Xavier Worthy. So that's probably the place I'm going to go. Let's do it. Xavier Worthy continuing to make the Chiefs even better because they just got beat by the Slim Reaper. Happy Super Bowl, Eagles fans. You guys end up getting the dub here. Looking at a spot where you guys, why can't you guys just draft a linebacker in the first, please? You got Barrett Carter here and Jamon Dumas-Johnson, who are both really good players. Very unfortunate. You guys are going to do whatever the hell you want. But free safety wouldn't be a bad choice. We're going to go Kalen Bullock. I love Kalen Bullock to this team anyways. So that is going to be the video. Let me know what you think down below. There's a quick little recap. Yes, this is not Naismith. You know, it's Keon Coleman. But let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side.